Hi, my name is Sihle. I am 23 years old. I was born and raised in Cape Town. I love Cape Town because it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful city. The beach, everything is close by, and I love the water. I love how beautiful it is. The people, not so much. I love how beautiful it is, and I love the nature. Like, it's very green, and there's a lot you can do in Cape Town. Like, there's a lot you can find, depending, whatever person you are, whatever you like, there's a lot of places that you can fit into in Cape Town, and that's what I really love about it. Growing up in Cape Town as a black person it's very white. Cape Town in general is very white, but it depends where you are. There are areas that are very black, where it's just black people, but like the nice places that I spoke about earlier, like the beaches, the nature, nice restaurants and everything are very white dominated. So I think I feel out of place sometimes. I feel like I don't see a lot of people that look like me as opposed to other provinces. And I think, so growing up as a black person, it's not, you have to get into a space and actually remember that you belong in that space. And it's something that you remind yourself. You don't automatically belong in a lot of spaces, even in schools, university, everywhere. You have to remind yourself that you belong there. You have to, like, being comfortable is something that you have to remind yourself that you are allowed to be comfortable in so many spaces around here. And that's been my experience as a black person and growing up in Cape Town. But I also, the black areas within Cape Town, for example, Khayelitsha, Coast River, it's very beautiful, and it's places where you actually belong, and everybody speaks the same language. So you get to those places and you automatically see your people and you feel at home, which isn't the same as like outside when you want to go to the beach, a nice restaurant in Cape Town. It's very, very different. Yeah.
How does that make you feel, knowing that you, in some spaces, you need to remind yourself that you can be comfortable, whereas other spaces you just...
The fact that I have to remind myself to be comfortable in certain spaces makes me very angry, because it's not just me being uncomfortable for no reason. It's because the spaces themselves are very exclusionary. Like, you are excluded in so many spaces. In schools, you grow up in white color dominated schools where your hair, it looks a certain way. You need to change the way you look. You conform to whiteness, and so it makes me angry, the fact. Am I doing it right? I feel okay. It makes me really angry that I actually have to remind myself to be comfortable, because this is home. I grew up here, and I don't think you want to be uncomfortable at home. I don't think you want to walk into a restaurant and remember that, like, oh, I can't be too loud right now because, black people are too loud, like, you need to keep it down, turn it down. It's only certain spaces around Cape Town where you actually feel like you can be loud and your blackness is celebrated. And in some spaces, even though your blackness is not celebrated, you will, because you belong there. Like I said, this is your space, but it's annoying that, like, that is an extra step that you have to take to remind yourself that, like, yes, I can exist fully within my nature and, like, my blackness fully. So it makes me angry more than anything.
And is this the way you felt since you were little, or did you start realizing? Is it something that you always knew, or did it recently start as you've grown up feeling that way?
Growing up, I think as a child, when you grow up, so many, you don't have a lot of things to reference what's wrong and what's right. Almost everything that you learn or you're told, you take it at face value. So for example, like I said, being dark-skinned as a child, you think, oh, okay, being dark-skinned is actually a horrible thing, I need to be light-skinned. Or being, like having an afro, when teachers tell you that like that afro is too much, you need to, or your braids are too wild, you need to make them neater, or you're too loud in a certain space, you think that those are things that you are supposed to do, and you try to conform to that. That's been my experience as a black person and growing up in Cape Town. But I also, the black areas within Cape Town, for example, Kaili, Chakos River, it's very beautiful, and it's places where you actually belong, and everybody speaks the same language. So you get to those places and you automatically see your people and you feel at home, which isn't the same as like outside when you want to go to the beach, a nice restaurant in Cape Town. It's very, very different. Yeah.
How does that make you feel, knowing that you, in some spaces, you need to remind yourself that you can be comfortable, whereas other spaces you just...
The fact that I have to remind myself to be comfortable in certain spaces makes me very angry, because it's not just me being uncomfortable for no reason. It's because the spaces themselves are very exclusionary. Like, you are excluded in so many spaces. In schools, you know, you grow up in white color dominated schools where your hair, you know, it looks a certain way. You need to change the way you look. You conform to whiteness, and so it makes me angry, the fact. Am I doing it right? I feel okay. It makes me really angry that I actually have to remind myself to be comfortable, because this is home. I grew up here, and I don't think you want to be uncomfortable at home. I don't think you want to walk into a restaurant and remember that, like, oh, I can't be too loud right now because, you know, black people are too loud, you know, like, you need to keep it down, turn it down. It's only certain spaces around Cape Town where you actually feel like you can be loud and your blackness is celebrated. And in some spaces, even though your blackness is not celebrated, you will, because you belong there. Like I said, you have to, this is your space, but it's annoying that, like, that is an extra step that you have to take to remind yourself that, like, yes, I can exist fully within my nature and, like, my blackness fully. So it makes me angry more than anything.
And is this...
That's something that I had to learn again, like,
Are there safe spaces in the city centre for you and all of you, where you can be all of you in the city?
I think growing up in South Africa and being in Cape Town or everywhere, like, there aren't a lot of spaces as a woman, as a person, where you actually can fully be your whole self, because it's not safe. Like, you always, even not just being a black person, like just crime, you constantly alert of your surroundings, and so it's very hard to be safe as an individual in such a high crime zone. But I would say, because, like, I'm gay, and I think there's a lot of spaces where I feel are welcoming to me in the city center, like clubs, for example, that are catered to queer spaces, and where I can fully exist and just let go, where I'm not worried about, you know, a man, not understand, or having to explain that like I am gay. What does it mean to be gay? The places where you don't have to explain that, you really just, or what it means to be non-binary, you can just say that and people will understand, and that's what it means to me to be safe, where I don't have to explain my existence. And the art space, those spaces haven't always existed, but I think we are growing with the times, and there are a lot of spaces within the city center that are being open to black queer folks. And yeah, so they're growing. We're doing something. So if you're coming from overseas and you're coming to Cape Town and you want to experience the motherland experience, I would say Cape Town is not the city for you to get the motherland experience, because like I said before, the space itself, it's very beautiful and it's very gorgeous. There's so many photos you can take, there's so many spaces that are catered to tourists. But if you want to get my understanding of the motherland is the African, the deep-rooted Africanness, and I don't think Cape Town is the space for you. At least Cape Town City Centre. There's so many other places, Joburg, Eastern Cape, where you can experience pure blackness, where spaces are just like nice spaces are catered to blackness, and you go to a club and you're like, okay, black people. Here in Cape Town, you will come into a space and you'll wonder if you're actually in Europe or Africa. Like, you will actually be confused. So, but there is still the motherland. The ghetto, like townships in Cape Town, you will, I think that's where you'll experience the motherland experience, but it's also not safe. But a lot of tourists that I've met over the years, they will go to Khayelitsha, Rand, the Chisanyama, and just like black culture, black South African culture is not at its ripe. It's not ripe in Cape Town. So the effects of apartheid are very, Cape Town is actually the place where you actually do see the effects of apartheid. Because right now, we're in Sea Point, it's a very beautiful beach. If you went and asked anybody here, what do you do on a normal day? People are taking a jog, they're going for a run, and it's a different bubble that people here in Sea Point are living in, as opposed to the spaces that I mentioned, Khayelitsha, Nyanga, Mitchell's Plain, Mandenburg. Those are completely different spaces, but still the same people that live in the same city. So, and those are the effects of apartheid. That's what apartheid did to us. And somebody's day-to-day experience here, people don't have time to actually go for a jog in the morning, because people wake up in the morning to go to work at 6 a.m. and work starts at 9, but because public transport is so unreliable and you have to take multiple taxis, multiple trains, buses just to get to work. When you get back from work, black mothers, black parents do not see their kids. Growing up as a black person, my parents never came to my sport shows. When I did sports, it wasn't a thing that my parents are going to watch me. But white kids, it's so normal that your mom is watching your singing competition, or where people were forcibly removed into these slums that they're living in. And it's still there's so many differences. When you go to Khayelitsha and you go to Constantia, the two different skin colors that are prevalent, in these two different places. So I still think the effects of apartheid are still pretty much prevalent in Cape Town, but also our government is also just doing nothing to rectify that. So it's quite sad. Growing up in a white dominated school, you try so hard to conform to whiteness, and everyone around you is white. So, you know, it makes you trying so hard to be this idea of beauty that's also set for you. So there's a lot of, it's very common for a lot of black men to not date black women because black women are too loud. And so, and even the way you speak, the way I speak, like, I don't speak, like, I don't have a, yes, I'm Xhosa, but I don't have a Xhosa accent. So even people will look at me and think, oh my gosh, you're so, what's the word? English is running away from me, you see, but you're so, wow, but you speak so well and you're probably so smart. Like, I just speak like this and people think I'm smart because of the way I speak, and people take me seriously because of the way I speak. And the way black people treat black people in Cape Town is, it depends where you're from, but, and then in the township, because all you grow up around is black people, all you see around you is black people, so that is different. And so you're like so accustomed to like spending time with black people, so therefore it's just like, we're black people. But another thing is, I think it's something we got from our parents, where, because a lot of our parents, they grew up around during apartheid, where they were afraid of the white man. They are scared, you know, rightfully so, but we're not. And so, but a lot of people who didn't grow up with white people, because like growing up around people, white people, yes, you do want to be close to whiteness, but also when you come out of that, where you realize, no, like I do not, like I'm not afraid to speak out, you know, when a white person is like being racist or being crazy to me, is different from a black person who grew up in the, like in the townships with like the, without white people around, because they are, how do I say this, they still treat like the white person as, oh my gosh, like you, I'm afraid of you make sense, like I'm supposed to listen to you, lead me, like even in group work in varsity, where, and I think that's something a lot of white people have, confidence, but also what, like you are raised to be confident, especially in this city, like you're raised like this is your own space. So I think a lot of black people are afraid of, especially in the townships, are afraid of speaking out, and so they treat white people differently than they do like to black people, because like they still like, it's like it's slavery, generational slavery, like the slave mentality that you get from your parents, because your parents, they still have this like fear of like the white man, and it's something that like it's, you know, secondhand. And I think a lot of kids also do have that, where they respond with like more respect or fear for like white people compared to like black people. So growing up, I used to love the fact that I speak like this. I thought it made me so superior, you know, because like I have a twang, like I roll my R's. That was amazing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. But now that I grow up, as I'm growing up, it makes me sad, because I don't think my own language. I barely speak my own. I understand and I can write it, but I'm so much better at like speaking in English than I am in my own language, and I feel like I'm losing so much of me, my culture, and like where I'm from. And it's quite sad that there was a time where I felt that speaking like this was this amazing thing, and I wanted to keep speaking like this. I wanted to keep rolling my R's and, you know, have this white accent. Like when somebody tells me, oh my gosh, you speak so white, oh thank you, like it was a compliment. You're not like the other black people, thank you. Sounds amazing. But now I want, like it came from self-hatred, you know, because I want to be like the other black people. I want to speak like the black person. I want to think in my language, but it is what it is. I guess we don't.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me sad, because I think I'm mostly sad for that Sihle, that thought that you shouldn't be this Sihle that speaks like a black person. I just want to hold her hand and be like, you can. You can, and you'll do it. Be as black as you want to, speak as black as you please. Like, that literally shows how close you are to your roots and your people. But it is what it is. We're here now. I mean, we understand now, and I'm holding their hand, and I'm glad. It makes me sad, but also I'm still very young, and I'm glad that I can understand that now and see that, like, I literally do not have to, conform to all of this shit. There's a lot of things that I think that have been taught to me. Like, there's a lot of things that my parents have told me and have views that they have, and I don't agree with a lot of their views. I do not agree with the idea of being a woman, the idea of being a decent, working professional. One thing I am trying so hard to unlearn is walking into a space as I am and letting the world gasp at my appearance and just being okay with it. And because I'm somebody, I have a lot of piercings. I have, like, I go into a room and, people will turn heads. Please do turn heads. But I think I'm working so hard to unlearn that there's just a lot of things that I'm taught about myself. Even my gayness, even being non-binary, like, there's a lot of things that I am just, the world has the ideas of being a certain way. Like, even being non-binary, there's like a certain way, if I would explain, like, the androgyny comes with being non-binary. And, like, there's all those things. And that's a lot that I'm trying to unlearn, that, like, I need to define things how my body wants to define them, and people's opinions on how, like, I want to define my life and my identity do not matter. So that's something it's so hard to unlearn, because each and every time, you're constantly thinking, oh, what's this person going to think of this? And what is the ideal professional? What's the ideal gay person? What's the, But no, like, all I just have to do is show up as myself. And so I'm unlearning all these things that I was taught about myself. And so that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm learning myself all over again. And it's a journey. It's a long journey, but we're getting there. There's so much microaggression, like, in the city, in South Africa in general. And I think one thing that sits with me is the pronunciation of my name. And because my name has a click. So my full name is Sihle. So now my full name is Sihle. But when I introduce myself as Sihle. You will never hear me, like, nobody can call me Sipe, because growing up, it wasn't even a thing where nobody asked me permission to shorten my name. Like, somebody would ask me, what's your name? Oh, Sipe Sihle. Oh, okay, can I just call you Sipe? And, like, that's just, like, now that's just my name. First of all, my name was given to me by my beautiful aunt, because she looked at me and she said, oh, what a beautiful gift. That's what it means. So then now you're going to tell me that, like, oh no, I'm just not going to say it. No, say my name, But, so that's really something that makes me really angry, because I understand that, like, our language has a lot of clicks that we understand, but, like, I did Afrikaans, I did English my whole life. Your culture has been forced on me my whole life. And in our culture, names mean so much. Like, they have meaning. We don't give a child a name without meaning. And so there's a click. The click is very hard, Sihle, but a lot of white people and colored people, you grow up in Cape Town. Cape Town, there are three languages. It's Xhosa, English, and Afrikaans. Those are the only, Joburg is a different story. Those are only three languages that we speak here. I, as a black person in South Africa, in Cape Town, I have done Afrikaans, I have done English, and it's been forced, not by choice. And that's something that's been forced on me my whole life. But like white people will refuse to even just say your name. Like, you can pronounce pizza, but you won't say tepo. You, like pizza, tepo, chepo, like, it just feels like a status thing. Like, you're just trying so hard to not see me. Like, when you're just refusing to see me. Like, even with European names, like, they literally will pronounce all these hard German names with so much care. But when it comes to our names, it's like, can I just call you Sandy? I've been asked if I can be called Sandy, by the way. And this happened when I was doing my vocational work. And then I was like, no, like, I think that's racist. My name is Sihle. And the crazy thing about that situation was everyone, all the men surrounded me and told me how crazy I was to say that situation was racist. So that's the thing, that's the erasure, you know, where just say my name. I'm literally not even asking you to speak isiXhosa, which you should be able to, by the way, because why are you not speaking isiXhosa? It's like you're going out of your way to actually not associate with blackness. But like, I don't have that choice. It's forced on me. Like, I don't have a choice to actually not associate with whiteness. And so those are the microaggressions that you really experience around here in Cape Town, in South Africa. But I think now, like in this era that we're in, we're having a lot of conversations. And I think it's very important, like we always say this, like it's very important for non-black people to recognize their privilege, because yes, there's not much you can do. Like, you can't, you as an individual, change like the Gini, like the difference in wealth in Cape Town, but you as an individual, you can choose to listen. Because for example, I myself can recognize my own privileges, and as a queer, black, female body in this country, one can argue like I'm one of the most privileged people in like this country, but still I can also recognize my privilege when it comes to trans people speaking up. Like, I understand, my privilege. When it comes to people with disabilities speaking up, I can understand that, like, okay, I'm taking a step back. This is their experience. And I think people shouldn't be, I think a lot of non-black people are so defensive with the fact that, like, people are angry at what's going on and people are speaking with so much anger. But that's the thing, you can't expect people to not be angry. You cannot, like, you cannot disadvantage somebody, and like, you can't come to somebody and ruin their life. I'm not saying you ruin their life, and then expect them to be like, no, but you need to respond with grace. Like, I understand that, like, this is a horrible situation for you, but you need to respond with grace, So I think it's in the conversations that we're having, obviously from both sides, because yes, we should not be violent, even us as black people, and in having these conversations. But I think these conversations are very important, and I think they help so much in like letting people understand where other people are coming from. But you need to give that space. You need to understand that, like, okay, I am giving space right now, and I am not here to defend, or sometimes things don't make sense. You're like, I do not understand this experience, but it's not your experience. You didn't walk that walk. we went to the same school, yes, we had the same teacher, but like the microaggression that I experienced from that teacher, the racism, you weren't gonna notice it because it wasn't directed at you. Yes, you didn't see it as a non-black person, but it still happened. And I have every right to be angry about it because you didn't see it. You weren't gonna see it, it wasn't directed at you,
Because we're not saying hate it on the person, though. We're saying
Exactly, try.
Okay, you can go.
Black people don't often speak a lot about the microaggressions that they experience in a lot of spaces because I think from our parents don't speak up a lot. They teach us not to speak out. I was a problem child in high school, and I'm somebody that, like, if you mess with me, I will check you out. And there was a lot of, I remember an instance where a teacher came to me and told me, took one colored girl and me, and I had braids at the time and my hair was just like loosely tied, and said, look at this girl's hair and then look at your hair. Do you see how neat it is? And then look at your hair right now. There was one black teacher at the time. I looked at him and I was like, are we not gonna defend me right now? He kept quiet, And so, like, that was something that was completely wrong. Of course, I wasn't scared of the woman, and I told her where to get off because what do you mean? Look at her hair, I have braids on. They have straight hair. Like, how are you comparing my hair and her hair and telling me something's wrong with my hair? So I went home, and obviously I was rude. She told me I will never amount to anything because of my attitude. I told her if amounting into anything is something that looks like you, then I don't want to amount to anything. And then, obviously teachers will tell your mom. And then I tell my mom, this is what happened. And she's like, Sihle, just let it go, just let it go. And that's the thing, we just let it go. It's fine, So that's the thing with us. It's wrong and it shouldn't happen. And we just think we should just let it go. But we shouldn't let it go, no. I shouldn't let it go. Why? Because people need to know when they're wrong. They need to know they're not supposed to do, they're not supposed to, like, that teacher wasn't supposed to do that right then. And that was my example of, like, a black teacher. He kept quiet. And, for me, I was like, I'm thinking you as a black person, you would defend me, you would speak out about this. But also I think it still goes back to the fear that our parents have of white people, and in that they never felt like they should correct them in what they're doing, like when it's wrong, because it's like, no, they are right. Like, when a white person gives you an instruction, you really will question, like, okay, what are you saying? But when a black, like, it's so easy for my mom to question, like, a black person, let's say for a black cashier, then it is for her to question, like, a white person. Like, it's, yes, thank you, okay, great service, love it. But it's so easy for her to question, like, a black person, like, why are they doing? But that's because we're able to call each other out, but we do not call, white people, because I think she's scared. I think it's something that is ingrained in us. The white people are always authority figures. When you think of a boss, it's a white person. When you think of a principal, it's a white man. And when you talk of authority, you don't often question authority, and I think that's the view that like a lot of black people have of white people authority, and so it's very hard to question, so you just let it go, and yeah.
Almost done, almost done.
Are we almost done?
Promise.
Yeah, and it is getting
Yeah.
like, look at you, you're like
So
dripping.
sorry. Okay, we're gonna do one more. What do you love about being black and Natalie?
What I love about being black, first of all, I think being black is the best thing about me. This is speaking from somebody who wanted to bleach their skin at once in their lives because I thought I was too dark. And I thought I want to only date white people because that makes me closer. My children would actually, when I thought I was straight at the time, my children will have, white features. And so, but right now, being black is the best thing about me. But speaking of like my black experience as a black Capetonian, I love Xhosa people. I just think there's just something or just about being Xhosa and black, man. Like in our culture and in our people, I love being black so much. Also, I like the fact that it gives me a fat ass. Like, and I really, like, I don't know, like, I just think black people are, maybe it's because of what we're told, like with Rainbow Nation, you need to forgive, you're loving, like it's something that's just fed into us. So then we have that neighborly, you love the other person, like every other, like you are my neighbor, you're my mother's child. And so I think that's also another very beautiful thing about like blackness and, Cape Town, South Africa. But overall, I don't know, like I just think it makes me beautiful. Like I just think the fact, like my skin, the sun, it was made for me. Like the way I glow in the sun, I'm sorry, please. I don't know, like I just think it's beautiful. And the different cultures that we have so many different cultures. We are so versatile as the black people. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And I think, I love it. I love it all.